Hi, my name is Kane Sajdak. I'm the co-founder and CEO of HomeGuardian.ai, and I'm here today to talk to you about the best monitoring and care technology that the world has ever seen. The concept for HomeGuardian came about when my co-founder and our CTO, ex-Amazon artificial intelligence developer, came home one day and his wife was really distraught. She's actually a nurse in aged care. And a lady she cared for fell, and it was several hours before they found her. And she said it would be great if they had a nurse in every room for everybody all the time. And he said, I wonder if I could build something that fills that gap. He came to me with the concept the next day. I thought it was a fantastic idea, and HomeGuardian was born. HomeGuardian saves lives. As you can see here, this lady, unfortunately, as she turns, her balance gives out and she has a fall. This is extremely common. It is the leading cause of injury-related death and kills more people than drug overdoses every year. And it's something we need to fix. When we look at the global population, and in particular Hong Kong, 1 out of 8 people currently are aged 65 and older. That is forecast to be dramatically higher, with 40% of the population going to be over 65 in the next 30 years. It is the fastest aging population when you look at the World Health Organization statistics, and it is only growing. When we look at the challenges that are demonstrated by the aging population in Hong Kong, it is actually shared by everyone around the world of the same age demographic. It is a challenge that we face globally, and coupled with the fact that half of the entire care industry, so talking about nurses and care staff, are about to retire and need care themselves in the next 15 years, we have a perfect storm on our hands. When we look at what people experience in this demographic, it is the leading cause of hospital admissions. As I mentioned before, leading cause of injury-related death, leading cause for people to leave their own home and go into a full-time care or acute care situation, such as a nursing home or an aged care facility. By 2047, there'll be a 100% increase in the number of people receiving care. That's double the amount of people that we need to care for at the same time as the people supplying those care currently are about to disappear. 40% of injury-related deaths are the consequence of a fall. And it is something that actually affects the way that people live. So that those that do have a fall actually change the way they live. They change the way they go about their day-to-day lives. And it's something that can be addressed. Of those who do fall, 60% cannot get up by themselves. That is your mother, your father, your grandparents, and 30% are left on the floor for over an hour, often bleeding and sometimes dying. And this is something that, you know, we really take for granted, because when you don't see it every day, it's something that's convenient not to think about. But this is the reality for a growing part of our population around the world, and in Hong Kong in particular. If we reach the age of 85, there's a 1 in 3 chance that we'll live in a care facility. And the leading cause of that, as we discussed, is a traumatic incident such as a fall. It is something that if we can address early, we can have people age in place, live where they would like to live, and remain as independent for as long as possible. I'd like to introduce you to HomeGuardian. HomeGuardian is a patented, world-first, artificial intelligence-driven behavioral analysis device. It is a smart care device that analyzes human interaction with your surroundings and then will alert when there is abnormal interaction or behavior detected. It can be acute issues such as a fall or absence and wandering, or it can be gradual, such as the onset of COVID-19-like symptom behavior or flu-like symptoms, or even decline in health and mobility. HomeGuardian can analyze all of these features and then allow you to make proactive care decisions as a result. It works exactly the same way the human brain does. So it takes the input from each of its senses, just like the human brain has eyes and ears, smell, and then correlates that input and decides if what it is seeing is actually normal or abnormal. Now, the really exciting part about the way we do this, and this is where our patents lie, is that we actually do this all on the edge. So no photos or videos or images or media is created or stored or sent anywhere. The device processes everything on the fly, on the edge. This means it is 100% private and secure, and there is no compromise in privacy or dignity at all. It can be used in bedrooms and bathrooms and private places, and it will maintain your privacy and dignity. The Australian government is supplying HomeGuardian devices through its NDIS, National Disability Insurance Scheme funding, and aged care funding methods to everyone over the age of 65 and anybody under that who is living with a disability. We are fortunate that our country is doing this, and as a result, the uptake for HomeGuardian has been dramatic. We partnered with Bond University, one of the premier universities in Australia, to conduct a study on the data that HomeGuardian can capture. Not only did they find that that data is sensitive enough to be used in a clinical setting, it is accurate enough to be used to predict incidents that are going to occur based on the trends in that predictive data when incidents do occur. It is extremely powerful when you as a care organization, maybe you're a care provider, maybe you're a nursing home, maybe you're an assisted living environment, maybe you're a home care provider, maybe you're a medical practitioner, can get access to that data and do things that have never been possible before. And while the Australian government has gotten behind us, we've just recently partnered with a number of distributors in Hong Kong, and I'm really excited and hopeful that the Hong Kong government will get behind us exactly the same way. We can change the way that elderly people in Hong Kong live if we partner together. HomeGuardian detects falls. We detect incidents. We can help save lives. How we do this is step one, we activate. As soon as you plug HomeGuardian in, it immediately scans the room and knows what everything is. The second step is that it will automatically know what abnormal interactions are, but then it will also measure your interactions for you personally with your surroundings. So we know how long interacting with a chair is. We know how long interacting with a bed is. And then we can measure changes in that so that if you are exhibiting, illness-like symptoms such as coughing and sneezing, coupled with spending more time in bed, moving slower and sitting down more, chances are that fatigue coupled with the coughing means that you are getting sick, and you can activate a telehealth consult directly through HomeGuardian, and then you can have that addressed by a doctor. Or if an acute incident occurs, such as wandering or a fall, as we use as our example previously, this can alert 24/7, 365 days a year. And it can be messaged straight through to a loved one, a son, a daughter, a neighbor, a care provider, or even emergency services. It is entirely up to you how the alerts are handled and how the process works. So not only do we detect falls and incidents, and we have automatic escalation, but you don't require any wearables. So unlike a lot of other technologies out there, HomeGuardian doesn't require you to wear anything. Because as we know, the majority of falls and acute incidents that do happen when people are at home and not wearing the wearables that they own anyway. So it is a completely passive monitor. It doesn't require any interaction from the people that it is monitoring, and will simply do its job. It'll blend in with its surroundings. As mentioned, it is 100% private and secure. And on top of this, it is simple to install. It just simply needs to be plugged into power and connected to the Wi-Fi. It will respond to audio objects. And we are just in the process now of putting in voice activation for those who may need that too. It doesn't require light. And the device itself was designed by a university who held focus groups to have the elderly people of the world design our device. The reason that it is the size and shape, it has wood grain, neutral tone and materials, is because that means that we have an extremely high technology acceptance rate. It was designed by the people who are using the product, person-centered design. Now, HomeGuardian does the fall and incident detection. It is private and secure, but something that is really, really powerful is the fact that we can measure the changes in that behavior and movement. So that over time, gradually as your health decreases, or maybe your health increases, the care that you're receiving, the medical attention you're receiving can be changed. It can be proactively changed. And the quality of life that you can actually receive is better as a result. Our mission is to help people. Our mission is to help people live longer, live healthier, and ultimately save lives. Everybody is related to somebody who's older than them. We want to help those people. When it comes to the product itself, it can be mounted almost anywhere. Bedside tables, bookshelves, mantelpieces. It can be used in a variety of settings, whether a clinical care setting such as a hospital or an aged care facility, or even in someone's own home, like you see in the picture in front of you next to their bed. We have dashboards that are built to produce fantastic reports. In the example here, you can see HomeGuardian is allowing this care facility to actually know the behavior of somebody, whether or not their bathroom frequency has increased, whether or not they're spending more time in bed, if they've had a fall, where they had it, what are the chances of that happening again. This is data that HomeGuardian collects and can be analyzed and produce reports exactly like this to help you make better care decisions. Likewise here, you can manage all of your HomeGuardians and at a glance see any that require immediate attention. For any care providers out there, imagine a single dashboard that gives you the ability to monitor every single care recipient under your care all at once. That's what HomeGuardian can do. Not only that, but we provide a family dashboard for the family of the people that you care for to actually log in, check on their loved one, make sure they're okay, set up their own contact details if they want to be alerted, and do all of this without compromising the privacy and dignity of the people being cared for. It was designed for homes, but is also designed to be utilized in a clinical setting. Let's make a difference. I'm here to tell you guys that we are going to change the world, and I want the people of Hong Kong to help me. I want you to help us change that world. We are looking for distributors, resellers, care providers who want to deliver the best care possible, and we want to do it now. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We're extremely proud of what we've built, and we're willing to work with you to make it even better. Thank you, everyone. My name is Kane Sajdak, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Kane, for the insightful presentation. Privacy is our top concern when introducing monitoring system. And so any device that can provide anonymous image is much preferred. So this is a really great idea. So let's see what questions we have from the audience online. Hello, Kane there. Good day. You can hear me, right? Yes. Okay. How are you today now?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
We have a questions here. Would you share the details on the impact of HomeGuardian application in Australia? How, for example, like how many households were covered? How accurate was the HomeGuardian in detection and prediction of acute incidents, such as fall? And what were the users' satisfaction about HomeGuardian?
Yeah, certainly. Being a relatively young company, we're actually really fortunate that the uptake for HomeGuardian in Australia has been so dramatic. So since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have had aged care providers submit requests to federal government for over 40,000 HomeGuardians. And we're really fortunate that the ones that have been deployed have actually had a dramatic impact on the care that people are receiving. So the feedback has been almost unanimously positive, and we've only ever had 2 units have any kind of physical fault in them, because we take pride in using quality components and manufacturing. If our device is being used to save the lives of people, we need to rely on it. And for example, some of the providers that are utilizing HomeGuardian is VMCH, so Villa Maria Catholic Homes. They're deploying over 1,000 HomeGuardian units as both a university study, but to increase the measurable care that can be delivered to both people in their own home as well as nursing homes, along with East Wimmera Health Services, who've deployed over 300 HomeGuardians to their care cohort. And that was in response to COVID-19. HomeGuardian is really powerful in that it's a unique ability to care for people without having to physically be there. So during periods of lockdown, which we had extended in Australia, it allowed those care providers to monitor and make sure people were okay, even if they physically couldn't get there and go and see them, particularly when we're talking about elderly people who are the most high-risk cohort during the pandemic.
Wow, that's very impressive. So, like, we have another question. It says here, like, in practice, how many monitoring devices have to be installed in a home apartment of an ordinary size, say 300 to 500 square feet?
Yeah, certainly. That's a really good question. It's one we get asked a lot, actually. So generally speaking, people will purchase 1 or 2 HomeGuardian devices together. And what we find is that people generally will spend most of their time in a couple of common areas. So that being your bedroom, living room or kitchen, for example. And if there is any areas outside of that that do need to be monitored, you can add as many HomeGuardians as is required. But we also actually have the ability to add the HomeGuardian Click, which is a very small device you can see here. It is waterproof. It will adhere to any surface, and you can put as many of these throughout the home as you would like. So you may have a HomeGuardian in the living room and maybe one in the bedroom, but then you might want to put some clicks in the bathroom, or potentially in the kitchen, or you can even attach them to a wheelchair or a walking frame as well. And they're a really low-cost way of adding additional coverage throughout the home.
Wow, that's really, really useful then. So we have another question here, like, can you provide the false negative and false positive statistics of the system by the type of incident and fail-safe procedure information? Is that possible to get those?
Look, it is definitely something we can provide if that person would like to reach out to us. But this general statistic that we have across the board is a 97.5% accuracy rating. And that's because we actually use the input from multiple sensors to detect an incident. So it's not just one sensor, because that would be less accurate. We take the correlated input from each of the sensors to determine what is wrong. And likewise, the reason that's so powerful is that if one of the sensors is not really sure, but the other one is quite sure, we're able to actually detect more incidents that way. It allows our accuracy rating to go right up. And this also does actually go back to your previous question about multiple devices in the home. Even if some of the sensors can't see the person or analyze the person because they're not in the room, things like the far-field audio array that can listen for audio objects can actually detect when something is wrong, even if the person isn't in the room where the device is present.
Wow, powerful, huh? Now, I have another question here, is about the setting. Okay, like in the clinical setting, like a ward in the hospital, how many clients can be monitored by one device? And then do you have any hospital that is using the device in Australia?
Yeah, so there's some hospital trials occurring at the moment. But as far as how many people can be monitored by one device, we've tested our technology, and it will monitor, one device will monitor roughly up to 400 people. And obviously that's having 400 people in one room is not very common in a hospital, but it can monitor multiple people is my point. And the device itself will alert whether there is abnormal behavior being exhibited by one person or all the people in the room, and it will tell you how many people are in a space as well. So you can have it in a room with multiple beds and have it be analyzing that behavior in there.
Okay, and then, you know, this is more, it's not about the size of the room, but here is about, you know, a lot of the homes in Hong Kong are very small and full of stuff and things on the ground, table. Would this affect the movement detection of the device? And also sometimes, you know, neighbors, they speak very loudly, and would that affect the accuracy of the audio detection?
That's a very good question. Short answer is no. So the device itself is as good as the installation. So what I mean by that is, yeah, correct. There is a lot of homes in Hong Kong that are quite small, and they may have a lot of furniture or clutter even in some areas. HomeGuardian, as long as it is mounted with a good viewpoint, and think of it as a person, it's hard for you to see what's going on if you're hiding behind objects as well. But just like HomeGuardian, if you mount it up on the wall, which HomeGuardian is universally screw mounted, so you can actually mount it to the roof or the wall or anywhere that you would like. As long as it has a good vantage point of the furniture in place and the floor, it can detect that abnormal behavior. But just like you, as long as you can see from that vantage point, HomeGuardian can see as well.
Right, okay. Yeah, I think we have covered quite a few of the questions here. And also, I think, here we have one more coming in, okay? Now, this is about the data and the cloud. So, how do you prove to the user that the data are not uploaded to the cloud? If you don't have the accumulated data, how do you prove your AI system is good constantly?
That's a very good question, actually. This person obviously has some technical knowledge. So how we do this, the data that is sent off our device is alert data, so that an incident has been detected and we need to send an alert. And we also send telemetry data. So what we send is XY coordinates of the objects that have been detected and the behavioral interactions that have been detected. So for example, if HomeGuardian was looking at you right now, it would see that you're a person and you're holding a pen and that you're standing at a lectern, and that is what's happening in the room. If you're holding a glass, it would know that you're holding a glass of water. It sends that we are seeing a glass and a person and a pen at these X and Y coordinates, and this is the behavior that we're detecting at that point in time. I can't tell you anything else. I can just tell you that in that scene, that is what we can see. So we use this data to then continue to teach the AI, but we also actually use generated data as well from our own internal methods that allow us to continually improve. So for example, we are actually doing a major rollout at the moment that increases our accuracy and detection of incidents again. That'll be occurring this week. So we are constantly improving it. And that's part of the beauty of the HomeGuardian platform and the HomeGuardian system, is that there is no personally identifiable data sent or stored anywhere. No media is sent or stored anywhere. But what you do get is access to all of that data, so that as a care provider, you're able to actually make some of those impactful decisions and change the way that you care for people without compromising their privacy or dignity.
Okay, good, very good. Thank you very much, Kane. It's good talking to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Okay, goodbye.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak at this important summit today. My name is Rosemary Kay. I'm based here in Liverpool in the UK, and I'm the project director of the Liverpool 5G Create project. This is a very interesting project looking at how we can incorporate 5G technologies within our existing health and social care services. This project is funded by the UK government, by the Department of Digital, Culture, Media and Sports. And I've been asked to talk a little bit about our project with you today. So as I say, what I'm going to cover now is a little bit about the project, the impact that we've managed to show to date, and some of the devices that we've used in the trials. So I hope that will be of interest to everybody today. Just to set a little bit of context, the city of Liverpool, where we work, there's a population of just over 500,000 people. As you can see from this, 14.7% of those are over 65, and we're forecasting a 10-year population growth of 7.5%. So like a lot of countries and cities, we are facing the challenge of an increasing aging population and increasing costs and demands on health and social care services. So this has led us into the projects that we've been running around 5G. The key challenges that we're trying to solve here, the issues that we're looking at, are that within our city, many people don't have access to affordable, reliable connectivity. And that can be very limiting in terms of both health and social care, but also in terms of education and employment. And what we've found over the COVID-19 pandemic is that what we call the digital divide, so those who don't have access to digital services, that has really increased during this time. And we can see now the impact that digital poverty is having on communities. We also have complex health challenges and increasing health inequalities across our city and the wider city region as well. And another challenge that we face is that although there is lots of good technology being developed and there's lots of potential for technology to be used within health and social care services, we find that the adoption rate of the technology is very slow, and therefore we're not seeing the impact that we would like to see and how widespread the technology can be used. So that was another challenge that we were looking at. And we also find that the public bodies, a lot more of the spending now is going on connectivity charges. And what we wanted to see was if we could reduce that cost of connectivity to enable more funds to be spent on frontline services. So they were the challenges that we were facing when we went into our 5G project. This summarises really just a bit of our journey to date on the projects. As a sort of precursor, we'd already done quite a bit of groundwork working with technology, health and social care organisations to bring them together into what we call the eHealth cluster that we run locally, which is a membership-based organisation and brings together organisations from lots of different sectors to work together to solve the challenges, and also creates a climate of innovation, which led to some of our initial projects about digitising home care services. And those projects then really raised the challenge of affordable and reliable connectivity. So this is why we looked at 5G. And in particular, we looked at the way that 5G can be used to enable the use of private networks. So we wanted to set up our own private network, which was owned by the local authority and would be used for health and social care services. And by that way, we would then reduce the cost of connectivity for the whole population. So we developed our own private network in our first phase and went up to 2019, the end of that year. We had developed the largest mesh network in Europe. So we used millimeter wave technology at that point, and we actually provided Wi-Fi connectivity into people's homes and fixed point connectivity to some of the care homes and community buildings. We deployed a number of different use cases, and for each of those use cases, we measured the impact. And at the end of the project, we could demonstrate a potential cost saving of £248,000 per 100 users per year, just based on the use cases that we tried as examples of what we could do. So that then led us into thinking, where do we go next with that? And obviously 5G technology was progressing as we were doing our pilot test bed there. So what we wanted to do then was take it further and roll it out wider across the city. But what we also wanted to do was bring in cellular technology. So we're bringing in now 5G small cells. So we will have our own standalone cellular network as part of our network across, as I say, across the Kensington area of Liverpool, but then hopefully rolling out wider across the city region. And as part of that, we're also producing a business plan to enable the other local authorities to be able to use the same approach, and that we've proved the cost model involved in actually using a private network for health and social care services. So this summarises really the solution we use. So what we do is we use the existing City Council CCTV network. So we use the fibre as part of that as for the backhaul. Then as I say, we've got the millimetre wave nodes that we put on the lampposts, on the street furniture, so that around the area that we're using, creating our mesh network. We also put these on community buildings as well. So this particular one is a community learning centre, but we've got care homes as well that are connected, and various other GP surgeries now. So our doctors' surgeries are coming online as well in the network at the moment. And then our small cells will also go on the lampposts distributed across the area, which will enable cellular connectivity for a number of the telehealth devices, and other devices to be used across the network, mobile devices by district nurses. We also incorporate Wi-Fi and LoRa, so we can use Internet of Things devices across our network as well. Quick summary of some things that we learnt to date and some of the key points, we think, from the projects we've done, is that obviously we don't treat it as a technology trial. We use the technology within real services because we want to focus on adoption at the beginning, and we want to then, when we prove that the trials work, have that technology adopted and used within the services. So we've already got the people who will use it in place and the feedback. We don't want to do pilots that will not then be converted into real services. So that's one of the things that we try not to do. We also try not to do a technology push, but we actually do, we will only do trials where we know we're solving a known problem and meeting an unmet need. So it's more than just the technology. It is actually about meeting a current challenge and improving the services and the potential outcomes for those individuals receiving the services as well. So we want to improve outcomes for people using services. And as I say, from that, we can see that access to affordable, reliable connectivity in the home is key to enable us to do that. From our project, we showed many outcomes that we achieved, and all the reports are actually on the website if people want to have a look. Down here at the bottom, that's the benefits and outcomes report is in there with all the detailed measures. But we managed to demonstrate that we were improving the quality of life for people, reducing loneliness, improving health outcomes, and reducing the demand on health and social care services, and also reducing digital exclusion for the population of Liverpool. So in terms of what we did achieve from the project then, residents do have access to free connectivity in terms of receiving health and social care services. So they don't have access in terms of watching Netflix and things like that. But when we're given a device for, say, telehealth monitoring, it will be pre-configured to be connected to our network. So there is no concern about whether that particular person at that particular address has connectivity, because it will be configured to work on our network. And we have shown that we're saving money, as we said in the outcomes there for the services. We're decreasing the digital divide, and we're actually using this as a catalyst to sort of bring services together and work together to address health inequalities. And this is also putting Liverpool in a very good position about 5G technology being in a leading position, and it really works with a lot of our health services, that we have a lot of innovation going on within the health services, but by bringing in the 5G aspect as well, we can really take that further forward and facilitate moves towards a smart city. So smart city interventions as well that we've got going on will be supported by our network. What I wanted to do now really was just talking about the impacts. I thought it was worth to actually hear from one of the people who took part in the trial. So for the initial test bed, we did a trial on medication management using the Payman device, which is a little device that sits in somebody's home and has two-way voice and one-way video. But rather than me talk about it, you can hear from one of the ladies who actually used the device.
My name is Joan James and I live in Liverpool. I've been using the Payman system since 2018. In a day I get 4 calls from the MediHub. Get them 9 o'clock in the morning, again at 12 o'clock, 5 o'clock and 7:15. I think the MediHub is so easy to use. It's got a loudspeaker and you hear it very clear. You just press the button on the top when the light changes and you're connected through. And you are aware that the camera's on and they will answer any questions you've got about your medication and they'll explain things to you. And the people on the other end of the MediHub are so friendly and you can hear them really clear. The callers are on time every single day. I do enjoy them calling and I look forward to hearing them. I feel as if they know what they're doing and any problems at all with your medication, they sort it out for you. When the MediHub got installed, the installation was very, very quick. I was told how it works and showed me what to do with it, and told me there was a camera on the top, and just when you finish speaking, just to turn the camera off. They do ring me every day because I'm on medication that has to be taken every day, and they're always on time when I should be taking my medication. Sometimes if I fall asleep and I don't know whether I took it or not, and whoever's on the other end will assure me that to take it at the time. The payment system does make me feel safer when I'm taking the medication, because to know that you're getting it on time and you're not forgetting to take it. I had a medication review and all my medication got sorted out, and qualified people that can do it. I would certainly recommend the MediHub to all my friends and family. I think this new service has made a lot of difference in my life. I feel as if it makes you feel safer, and you know, if they can't pick you up on a call, they will ring you back again and again, and then if they don't hear you on that, they ring you on your house phone. I used to have carers and I had to wait for them to come. Sometimes they could be an hour late with the traffic. So with this system, I think it's wonderful.
So hopefully that demonstrates the approach we're taking, that it's not just about the 5G technology, but it is about the integration within services and how their 5G private network can enable more widespread use of that type of technology. So I'd like to now just share a few of the other devices that we're currently trialling at the moment in our latest phase. So one of those is VitalAlerter, which this is a sensor that goes on the bed. We're trialling this in a number of care homes across Liverpool. And with all our trials, we want to be very, very clear on what the impact is that we're looking for. So we go through a whole process at the beginning in selecting the devices that we're going to trial. And this is where we use our adoption readiness level that we've developed to go through with the suppliers and see how likely we think these are to work. And we want to make sure that people have considered adoption and the practicalities of how these devices will work before we introduce them to our trials. So as I said, this is being used in care homes. It can predict patterns of behaviour and predict when people are about to get out of bed before they do, so that care staff can be alerted in good time to prevent people falling when trying to get out of bed. It also has the added benefits as well, in that it will monitor movement, so also alert carers when people need to be moved to reduce the likelihood of pressure sores developing. So that's another thing that we're monitoring as well, as this is, as I say, this is being used at the moment in a few care homes. So we work very closely with the care staff to make sure that it is usable for them and can be integrated within their services. Another one that we're using is Telehealth Monitoring, which has been used for a long while within Liverpool, but the amount of use of that has really increased during the pandemic, and the need for remote monitoring has been seen to increase over this time. So we're using this on our 5G network. It's currently in use on 4G networks, but the 5G network will enable more facilities to be able to be used at the same time. So for example, three-way video calls, so calls between a nurse, a patient and a consultant. You know, the device is being developed to handle more facilities like that and will be used on our private 5G network. Another one is MySense, which is an AI platform which has a number of sensors that are placed in people's homes and will monitor patterns of behaviour. So it's monitored through IoT sensors, so no cameras, no microphones, so it's not intrusive for people, but it will pick up patterns of behaviour and will detect changes and lack of activity maybe between people. So that again, that's being used within some of our supported living services at the moment. We also have an AI-based imaging technologies that we're using to categorise pressure ulcers. So this is district nurses who go around to people's homes. Now currently have they're using a 5G phone, which will take photographs of the pressure ulcers and we'll categorise them. So we'll send information back to clinicians, but we'll also help to determine the level of treatment and level of monitoring needed going forward. So again, we have clear aims in what we're trying to achieve on this. So we're actually trying to reduce the category 3 and 4 pressure ulcers, so to catch pressure ulcers quickly and make sure people get the right treatment quickly by using our technology. So I hope that's given you just a quick whistle-stop tour of some of the things that we're doing and some of the devices that we're using. If you have any more questions, I'd be quite happy to answer them. My email, phone number is there, and I believe we're having a question and answer session afterwards. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and say happy to share more about the work we're doing in Liverpool. Thank you.
Rosemary, for your sharing. I'm particularly impressed by the vision of your project of delivering free and fast connectivity for public services to everyone and removing the barriers caused by the lack of affordable connectivity. Well, we do hope that similar provision can be available in Hong Kong, which can further help to drive improvements in the health and well-being of our community. Thank you very much, Rosemary. Now, let's see. We are going to answer some questions that we received online, shall we? Okay, let's see. Now, the question is, what opportunities would you see on health and social care when 5G connectivity become more readily available? What kind of healthcare or social care technology would benefit most from the development of advanced connectivity?
Okay, well, I think in answer to that, I think maybe there's two main areas. One of the things we're trying to do with our project is enable people to live safely in their own homes for longer and live independently in their own homes. So in terms of technology, things like sensor technology in the home that can connect people and monitor in an unobtrusive way, which gives people confidence, say, to live independently. That's one big area that we're working on. The other area, I would say, is really mobile technology for health professionals. So here in the UK, we have district nurses who go around and visit people in their homes. And that's one of the services that's using our pressure ulcer management. And that there's much opportunity there to use devices in that mobile context. But what we have to be very careful of is that those mobile health workers are not going to drive around with lots of different equipments for different scenarios. And we need to look at how we can use the technology to bring that together and make those services more effective.
Yeah, I think this is very good that, you know, this connectivity is an enabler, you know, for everyone involved, isn't it? Now,
Yes.
Okay, the next question that we have here is, was 5G connectivity a critical success factor for the application of this 4G or 4.5G connection be sufficient? You know, does it have to be 5G or?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question, and it's interesting because when we started our test bed initially, there were not many 5G devices around. So a lot of people asked, you know, why we were doing this when the 5G devices weren't there. But our aim is to provide the infrastructure. And yes, some of the devices in the first instance use 4G, but have then progressed as the 5G has become more available. But what we were trying to do, I think, is trying to create a climate and a platform, if you like, where new devices could be introduced. So like the telehealth system is currently in operation now on 4G. But by using it over 5G, we're working with the company to develop new features that wouldn't be available under 4G. So it is about working very much in parallel with the infrastructure that's there and the companies that are developing the devices, but also the people receiving the services as well. So yes, I think it's a very good question, but as I said, I think it reflects where we are in terms of technology development. And so our aim now is that as more devices, 5G devices become available, we will be ready to use them on our network.
That's very good preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the next question that comes online. Now, instead of a government-funded, a purpose-built private network in Hong Kong, the 5G and other internet infrastructure are operated by private telecoms, so in which the citizens or healthcare and social services provider would have to subscribe and pay. Would the end user paid connectivity become a hurdle for the healthcare technology adoption?
Yeah. Yes. Again, another good question. What we found is that the reason we've gone down the route of a private network is really twofold. One is because if the end user has to pay for that connectivity, then what will happen is those that can't afford it won't have it, and they're often the ones most in need of the services. So therefore the services are not as effective as they could be, and what we see is a widening gap of health inequalities, and what we're trying to do is close that gap rather than widen it. So that was the need for a private network. So we don't have to, if we have some health monitoring service, we don't have to say you can only have this if you have connectivity in your home. We can say you can have it regardless of what connectivity you have in your home. And another aspect, which is really important as well, is the service level agreements. So if we're providing commercial services, and if you're doing health monitoring, you need a high level of reliability. So we can't have connections going down and people waiting days for things to be reconnected. So within our private network, we can set higher service level agreements, which are more affordable in a private network than they would be in a commercial network.
I see. But this is something that, you know, the difference that we will have to work it out here in Hong Kong. Right. Now, the next question we have here is, you mentioned cost saving, for example, reduction in hospitalization or treatment. And those cost saving calculations taking into account the cost of the 5G network or infrastructure?
Yes. Yes, what we did is within our, what we call our use case trials, so all the equipment that we trialed, we did a cost benefit analysis of those, and we looked at the cost of the service. So for example, the payman service that we saw, the video with Joan talking, we looked at the actual cost of the service, we looked at the cost of connectivity, and then we looked at the potential savings. So for example, that one on medication management, there was lots of different savings there in the reducing the need to have care workers call for medication prompts, reducing medication wastage as well. So yes, we looked at all the potential savings, but we did factor in all the costs as well. And as I said, I think in the talk, the reports are available on the website, and people are quite welcome to have a look at those.
Okay. And okay, we have a few questions more here. Now, okay, there are quite a few devices shown on the your presentation, and many of them seems to have mechanical parts that require high maintenance. This can become expensive. So do you have, you know, any information on those, the cost benefits statistics on those equipment?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there is really a lot of sort of maintenance required, and most of these devices are monitored. So we work very closely with the equipment provider, but also the service provider. So for example, in the care homes, we work with the care managers in there who are, you know, getting the results. They have a dashboard with all the results from the devices on. They can see any problems very quickly, but we do try and go for low maintenance, because particularly at the moment, we want to minimize, say, engineers or installation engineers going into care homes So I wouldn't say that there is a lot of maintenance involved in those. And it is one of the things we look at. As I say, for all the equipment that we've trialed, they go through an initial assessment before we actually took them forward. And part of that assessment was their adoption readiness level. So this looks not just at the technical, but the practical side. And that does look at things like maintenance and replacement of devices in the future and things like that. So we did assess some of that, you know, very early on before we select the devices.
Okay, right. And then we have another question here. Now, in the Liverpool 5G lesson learned, you mentioned about this treat as a program of change, right? Can you elaborate more?
Yes, I think, as I say, we tend to treat our projects not as a technology push. We say, obviously there is a technology focus, but actually, in real terms, the technology is often the easy part, and it is the human side of things which is more difficult. So to get the equipment integrated in our services and adopted at scale, we have what we call a chain of stakeholders to work through. And that is involving all those people because it's a change in the way that people work. And some people are, hesitant about that in thinking that, is it going to take work away from people? Is it going to make more work for people? So we have to really work with all the people involved in introducing that technology and make sure they are open to that change. And sometimes it might be like a fear of technology if it's not what they're used to. So we have to spend time with people and, you know, train people. And really what I say is understand all the different perspectives of the stakeholders and really approach the use cases and the programs from the point of view of all the perspectives of the stakeholders involved.
Okay, well, thank you, Rosemary. Thank you very much for your time. And I think we have to say goodbye here now. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.